Kia ora, back again with some more LEGO Lord of the Rings set. This here is set 9474, the Battle of Helms Deep, but this is also a review of set 9471, Uruk-Hai Army, which released in the same year and is a nice little expansion set that goes alongside Helms Deep. It builds a much bigger castle, if you will. The set overview of this giant build here is the setting for the third act in the Two Towers film. We have a giant fortress of Helms Deep, plus a little cool army builder set that can expand that wall section. A good amount of minifigures are here as well. Now, Helms Deep back in the day retailed for 250 NZD, which actually seems like quite a lot now in comparison to some things, though nowadays it's valued at 700 NZD, sealed condition, or 570 U, so it has more than doubled in its price regardless of its status. The Uruk-Hai Army set was only $60 back in the day, which is pretty amazing because nowadays that just gets you Obi-Wan Starfighter. 6 minifigures and 350 pieces, that's a steal. Nowadays the set goes for $270 sealed, or a flat price of $200 in a used condition. So almost the same price as what Helms Deep was back in the day. We'll start this review by covering that Uruk-Hai Army set first. I'm assuming many people bought this one as a taste tester first for the big set to come later. This little wall section here features a wall extension and 2 Rohan soldiers, one being Eomer, and we also have a Ballista build and an army of orcs. There are 4 Uruk-Hai soldiers here, which were really cool to get actually. So the Ballista is an orc build. We didn't really get a whole lot of special builds for the orcs throughout the series, so this is an exciting addition, and it's one that completes the scene as well. I really like how this small set expands not only the castle for our heroes, but it also adds a little something useful for the orc enemies, which also only increases the value of getting more than just one of these sets. The Ballista is pretty simple in its build design. We have a frame here that allows a Technic connection, which is carrying that chunk that houses the hook projectiles. We have 4 sets of wheels, which are just Lego rounded plates, and some printed tiles to display some of those wood detailings. Separating the 2 parts here shows you how the connection is made and how the build is all kept together. There's a small little tile here at the back that prevents this part from rubbing up against those other pieces. The hooks are pretty cool, nice theme specific item to be included here, and we also have some awesome Technic blades as well. These have been released in a few sets later on in different colors over the years. The gimmick of the set here is that you can place the wall extension down and push on this lever to fire the missiles. The set is rather old now though, so these Lego bricks rubbing up against each other, it doesn't work nearly as well as it did 12 years ago. It's still pretty cool to see, but it did take a little bit of effort before they began firing out like normal again. As for our wall build, this is a really nice tester for what the Helms Deep set would ultimately be. We have a few nice color combinations of sand green and some dark greens, and a good set of greys with some stoning details. A good way to add some depth to stone builds like this is using parts in unfamiliar positions. We use a lot of the same bricks here throughout the set, but they've split the design down the middle there, and they've changed up the positions to make the style asymmetrical. Up top we have a small standing ground for our soldier, and here we have a flag with the colors of Rohan and a small catapult. The sides features some Technic pegs because this is how we will connect the build together in the Helms Deep set. The interior is also very simple, but I do like the design choice here to add just a little something to that build. Our main interior here is that we've got some steps there that allow the figures to reach the top for defense. There's a little bit of standing room here, but it's mostly just where the stairs are. It would have been nice to have seen maybe a weapon rack of some kind or something like that, but it's not a total deal breaker for me. I have our archer up here watching over the grounds. The catapult is pretty simple and repeated later on as well. Just add one of these pieces here which acts as ammo, and then you can send that piece flying. So we might as well take a look at our figures here before we move on to the really interesting part of the set. Eomer is a very cool minifigure to have, and in retrospect it's really surprising to see which characters we did and which ones we didn't get in minifigure form. He's definitely on the smaller scale side of things when it comes to main characters, but I'm really glad that he's here. He's got some really special parts, which is great given the exclusive release here. Love his armor printing and the special printing on his shield as well, which is also included in the Helms Deep set with King Théoden. Eomer has this fancy Rohan helmet, which did appear again in the set on the archer and also King Théoden, different prints on all 3 of them as well. Finally, a green cape to really emphasize that this is a specially named character. Eomer does have a double-sided expression where he seems to be even more mad than usual. There was no extra hairpiece included though because it was a much different time back then. For those who don't know, the Lord of the Rings line introduced a really cool special new horse mold, which was included in most of the sets released across the Middle-earth line for both the movie series The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. What made these horses really special was that articulation in both the neck and the legs, which allowed you to get some pretty strong poses like this. Helms Deep also included this exact same horse, but the line also had them coloured in black for the ring wraiths. Now this is our Rohan soldier. He just takes the mantle as being the red shirt of the set really. The set is essentially a battle pack which would increase your troops for the Uruk-Hai, but you also get this guy for the Rohan troops. He was one of my favourite minifigures from the line growing up honestly, but I really hate the fact that we only got this one soldier. There is no army for him to actually join besides the other named characters of Eomer and Théoden. He continues the green theming, and again he uses that really cool helmet theme, but this time there's no printing on it. He comes equipped with a bow and some arrows and a quiver on his back, but I believe the set also included at least a sword or two for this guy or for Eomer, double-sided face print of a neutral expression, and some back printing here as well. This is the first of the Uruk-Hai figures. I'm gonna say he's pretty much the leader of this pact for this set because he's literally the Lurtz minifigure, just recolored. Here he has that dark red flesh tone, whereas Lurtz was full brown. All of the Uruk-Hai are the exact same minifigure as one another, but they all usually have at least one extra piece that makes them stand out. This guy here features the long black hair. All of the others in the set are the exact same minifigure, just without that hairpiece. I've always loved the weapons that they included with these guys. That shield is a really great specially molded piece, and the sword too as well, both iconic for that series. The shield I think remained in the Middle Earth theme, but that sword has definitely come across into other themes. If I remove that hairpiece here, this is what he looks like underneath the helmet, a double-sided expression with some white face paint. This is another of the Uruk-Hai soldiers. This guy is the exact same figure that we just looked at, but now he's got a really cool armor piece equipped. The torso armor has naturally been used in a few sets both before and long after the Middle Earth theme, but I believe the helmet has always stayed in the Middle Earth line. Most unique to him is the weapon that he comes with, a Halberd. This is actually apparently the last time it was ever used in a set in this color. I say it's unique to him, but I kid of course, because you do get two of these guys in this very set. Our last Uruk-Hai figure here is a mix of the two that we just looked at actually. Here we have a soldier that wears no armor plate and no halberd weapon, but he does have the helmet and he does have the sword and shield. It's the same prints on his torso and the legs, and the exact same expressions for the head as well. If I remove that helmet, it shows that the plain figure is there underneath, literally the exact same figure that we've looked at already. We are done with all of that now, it's time to cover Helms Deep. This was such an exciting present to get at Christmas time, one that I never even considered that I would get, because I was going to be getting all of the Fellowship minifigures in every other set. This makes for a really great looking display piece, but it does have a few issues, so let's just get into it. For one thing, it's a very large set, larger than I think a lot of people remember, and unfortunately it's pretty barren inside as well. There are some fancy details for the exterior design, but it's not a huge step up compared to that Uruk-Hai Army set that we just looked at really. It's also not a fully connected build, a personal pet peeve of mine when it comes to bigger LEGO sets. We start here at the front and we make our way all the way through. We have a small section of steps here, built on hinges and contains a small little secret on the inside. Makes for a nice design, and it can be fully removed from the build too, since it's connected through Technic pegs. Removing the figures here gives us access to that main entrance, two big doors, opening and shutting functions as one expects to find here. Up at the top we have a similar standing area compared to the last castle wall build. Here we have a small opening section, which can close back up for defense, and you can drop some of that ammo down onto the orcs below. The same catapult is here as well, so this ammo I have on the side can be used for both options here. Simply drop the rock down the wall here and knock down the enemy. Off to the side we have where Aragorn and Gimli plan their next attack, which amounts to throwing Gimli across over to the other side. We have a little door opening here so that you can explain how they managed to get to this area, and this part also shows off the nice design for the outer wall. LEGO have added this little launcher here, which can fit Gimli nice and easily, and you can fling him over to the enemy in order to replicate that scene from the film. The top of this wall here has enough room for the bridge that connects the main hall, and again we have some nice parts being used here to help with that asymmetrical design. I really like these sections here that use those small slope pieces for curves and edges on the castle walls. This wall here is pretty similar to what we were looking at just before. We also have a ladder here for the orc army, which they can use to try and climb up and breach the walls. And I really like how snug it fits into place here with those top sections. Down here we have the one and only weakness of Helm's Deep. Its outer wall is solid rock, but for a small culvert at its base, which is little more than a drain. If you remove that Berserker figure here, you can see the little section that leads to the coolest play feature. Unfortunately though, this is being filmed 12 years past its prime, so that feature doesn't actually work as intended anymore, and I cannot for the life of me understand what exactly I'm doing wrong here. So you're supposed to press down on this lever at the back here, and once you do that, the entire wall breaks apart, and I remember it being really damn cool when I was a kid, but now these parts just do not respond the way that they're supposed to. It should look a little something like this. Moving the set around now, we can show off a little bit of the inside, but before that, I'm still going to cover this wall here. It all breaks down into a bunch of pieces, so there always needs to be a rebuild in order to fix things. This is the lever here, and as you can see, it just is not making contact with those bricks. It's barely moving them. I even thought about maybe just moving this piece around and flipping it, but it still doesn't quite work the way that it's supposed to. Now shaking the set around a little, it did result in the success I wanted, but you want it to be a breeze really. If I gently place all of the pieces down so that they're already loose anyway, it kind of works, but again, not every piece did react the way that I was intending. Rebuilding the scene is a total of 5 pieces here. We have a sewer pipe section, 2 bricks that sit on top of that with some tiled parts, and then the 2 chunks of wall for that top section as well. Again, this destruction part does work if you've actually changed it a little. The issue here seems to be that little drain part. All of those other pieces, they seem to react fine if I've, changed things up a little. There's also a door here which does lead to our main area, like the tower, which is the tallest part of the build. The inside section here is pretty empty, there's no base for one thing, and the walls are pretty thin anyway, so there's just not much going on here. The tower does have some cool sticker designs of some more stone and rock on those sides here to help contrast the real bricks that you use throughout the set as well. The inside of the tower and the main hall actually do have a little bit of offerings, more than the outer wall does, that's for sure. At the very top of the tower we have the Horn of Helm Hammerhand, which Gimli can call. It just uses a tentacle piece. There's a Metal Gear Solid worthy ladder here to reach this point, and down below is a box which allows Gimli to reach that said ladder.
Shall I describe it to you? Or would you like me to find you a box?
Around the back here is the door which leads us to the drainpipe wall, and here we have a better look at the bridge that I mentioned earlier that connects our walls together. The main hall here is the closest thing that we have to an interior design and something that's actually worthwhile. We have a small little dining area for all of the soldiers to prepare in. Here we have a great stickered banner of the sigil of Rohan. The dining table has a couple of cups and a large chicken on plate in front of what I assume is the king's seat. We also have two weapon racks here with a spear and a sword and a small little mouse. This section here is completely removable from the outer wall because there's nothing that connects it onto the set. Again, a personal pet peeve of mine. It shouldn't be that big of a deal, but I just feel funny about builds that don't connect together. Really, this is so that you can have a bridge section that actually functions and looks the exact same way it looks in the movie where it's on that angle, so that's the crux of it really. You want it to be accurate, well it kinda needs to be designed this way. Our first minifigure here is King Théoden, who is exclusive to the set and one of my favourite minifigures from the line. It's a really great side character to have as an exclusive minifigure. Théoden here uses the torso armour and once again the Rohan helmet, but with some fancy printing all over it this time. The shield that he uses is the exact same one that I showed before with Eomer, and he has exposed red arms and printing under his torso, which looks like this actually. A double-sided expression also, and the torso is essentially some civilian wear for Théoden, which I absolutely adore. I love having casual and battle wear of the exact same minifigure. Now if you have a spare cape lying around and this really cool sand yellow hairpiece from the Alien Conquest and LEGO City line, you can make him appear exactly how he does in the LEGO Lord of the Rings video game. But as far as a modern interpretation goes, I would definitely want to use the Mad Eye Moody hairpiece. That would be my go-to nowadays. Haldir is also another exclusive minifigure here and the next exciting addition. Again, a really interesting side character to get here. We never got Éowyn, we never got Faramir, but we did get this guy. Using parts to represent the elves, he's got a bright gold armor piece and red colors all throughout. Golden arms, so making sure to be extra careful when moving him around, especially in this day and age. It means that he has not aged very well. The elvish bow and the dark red cape do make him stand out compared to the other elvish figures released in this entire theme. We do have a double-sided expression and some back printing as well once you remove that cape and hairpiece. And this is our Berserker Uruk-Hai figure. He is the last exclusive figure in the set here. This orc is the one who detonates the bomb that Saruman has made for them to breach that wall. His patterns are really cool. It's a really menacing expression to have, and we have the white hand printed on his torso twice here on the upper chest. Some very minimal printing like the back of the mask here and such, but it's a really interesting unique addition for the set. Aragorn here is pretty simple and reused from some previous sets. Covered on this channel before from the Weathertop one. I don't love this minifigure's inclusion here just because of that outfit choice. I think it's really lame that LEGO just reused the same one throughout the entire line. Probably a simple one to customize, and I might just try that myself. He should have some chainmail for his sleeves or something. He's supposed to have some hints of red in the outfit as well for under his chainmail here, not just the Strider outfit again. So I like that figure a lot, but I guess I'm really spoiled by the modern approach of how LEGO will tackle things. Usually they take pretty good care into making sure that their costume appearances are accurate for their sets, most of the time at least. They've slipped up a couple times obviously. They would change up Aragorn's appearance for the Black Gate set, so yeah, I wish he was different here also. Double-sided expression where he still looks mad, but just a little less mad. Gimli here is also a reused minifigure, last seen on this channel in the Rivendell set, not that big one but the really small scaled one. Gimli was the most reused figure if you don't count the Uruk-Hai soldiers. I guess the same issues with Aragorn, really. It's a hard sell for me when I know that he's not supposed to be the exact same figure in every single set. The colours don't really match and that's an issue for me always. He's a cool minifigure for the beard and the helmet molds and all, but I used to give him a cape when I was younger because he was always missing one in all of the LEGO sets, and even that alone helped add a little bit of spice and flavour to the minifigure. Double-sided expression and some printing underneath the beard and the helmet. I was always really curious as to why they went through the extra effort of giving him a double-sided facial expression, because once you put that beard and helmet on, you really can't tell. Our final figures here again are some more orcs. Here we have another Uruk-Hai soldier with the awesome armor parts and great weapons. You do get 2 of them in this set, so we do have a really large army of soldiers here if you bought both of these sets together. Removing all the extra armor from this guy here shows you the exact design that we've already covered in this very video. And the last soldier here is also wearing a helmet, but there's no torso armor, and he uses the Halberd weapon from the other set. All in total, you're looking at 8 orcs if you get both of these sets, but really, there's only 2 unique designs here, the Berserker and then everyone else. It's time to combine our sets here. We just add our cool little Ballista to the front here, and we throw all of the figures in to build up our army, adding Eomer on his horse and all of the remaining Uruk-Hai soldiers. As for the wall connecting, like I showed you before, there's a set of pegs here that can connect onto the wall. If you want, you could even remove that entire drain area and connect this wall first if you really wanted to, but I like adding it onto the side here so that way it's the middle wall that's destroyed and it looks exactly like it does in the movie that way. And that's it for our Helms Deep video. Again, you could buy as many of those additional walls as you would like, because it's only going to increase your army for both sides and make your castle even longer. I really wish this had more of an exciting interior, because besides the lacking functions for the inside build, I do really like the Helms Deep design. I love the build structure of the tall, lengthy walls, and when you have the set all complete together like this, it really does make for a recognizable display piece from a pretty great franchise of films. I wish the figures were more interesting in the repeats though. I love the exclusive so much, and the idea of getting an Aragorn and a Gimli again is cool, but the inaccurate attire really bugs me about those figures, especially for the price that we had to pay. Great army building possibilities here, and really interesting inclusions with that wall extension, a couple of posable horses and a Ballista. Helms Deep is a favourite of all builders for a good reason. If you enjoyed looking at this older LEGO Lord of the Rings set, liking this video and subscribing to the channel does help to support us in making more videos like this one. Ka kite anō, I hope to see you guys in the next video.